October the 12th, 2022, and wearing the number 12 because, well, the Patriots, baby, and Tom Brady, but still, it's the 12th of October, which unfortunately in Degrassi times is one of the worst days possible. It is the 18th anniversary of Time Stands Still Part 2, the episode that defined Degrassi going there. So today I will be putting out two Degrassism videos. The second one will be a retrospective on Time Stands Still, the episode that went there, both parts, of course, and of course, talking about things. But this video is about the top 10, well, I made it into top 12 Degrassi character aftermaths to do with the shooting of Rick Murray. So last week I did two polls. I randomly put 6 people in one poll and 6 in another. Whoever got top 3 in each of the two polls would be top 6. And then it's basically a ranking poll, 1 to 6, 7 to 12. I do like to thank everyone for doing their contributions and all that. So the second half, number 7 to 12, had 84 votes. It was actually close for whoever took 7. So here we go. I've decided to keep it at 12. I could have went to 10, but I'm going to keep it at 12. So here we go. So number 12 with 7 votes in the lower ranking poll was Jay. And I said his aftermath was logically he forced Alex and Spinner to stay quiet and had no empathy for anyone. Jay in his role at Time Stand Still was a bit sketchy, especially with the fact that he had no connection to Terry at all with what happened the previous year. Jay was a troublemaker. He got Sean to join the Candy Bandits, pissing Emma off. And then all of a sudden, you got yourself the fact that, Jay was there to beat up on Rick. He was there to the end. He was one of the last bullies to go after Rick for many reasons. Jay had no connection, as I said, to the Terry, everything. He was just trying to cause trouble. He was going to raise ruckus. Of course, Jay, alongside Spinner, decided to trick Rick into believing their BS twice. Once in the bathroom before the tiebreaker, because then they knew that Rick wouldn't be able to notice the paint and feathers. And then, second of all, was in the bathroom when Jay got Spinner to try to make trouble for Jimmy, but not knowing that Rick had a gun. Jay's aftermath after Time Stands Still is basically trying to keep Spinner and Alex, for that matter, from blabbing about the roles in the paint and feathers and the shooting and all that. Jay has little empathy. He gets told off by Spinner, rightfully so. And Jay still is a character. He could have came back in season 5 at Degrassi, but as a student, but he figured that the school needed a scapegoat, and Spinner was right for the picking. Of course, Jay is upset because Spinner broke off with him as friends in the middle of season 5, because Spinner realized that Jay was bad and said, "Why did I have to listen to you? I would never have tricked Rick like that." And Jay had little empathy. He said that we did the world a favor, but he did push Rick over the edge. Jay and Spinner did come back as friends in season 6, which kind of ticks me off. But, Jay then was with Betty in season 7 and 8. It was like, look. Number 11. Now, there was a tie for 10th. But I've decided to put Liberty and JT at number 11 because they were not really involved in the whole Rick Murray situation as much. So they'll get number 11. And number 11 was them with 11 votes, and same as number 10. But anyway, Liberty and JT were in there because, well, Liberty was only there for the character aftermath. But the simple fact that, Raditch wanted to postpone Dracula and put a musical on to prove why Degrassi is a good school. Liberty was not too pleased with it, so she and JT work on a musical number to insult Raditch with Raditches. So anyhow, JT was involved kind of because when he went after Danny, aka Liberty's brother, he left Toby in the dust, and Toby was easily coerced into being with Rick as friends. Fortunately, Manny chewed JT out, and JT realized he was a bad friend to Toby. But anyway, Liberty and JT put on the Radish song for Radish, and he basically forces them to rewrite Money in Detention. However, JT and Liberty in the detention room both declared their love for each other. So, yeah, that started a chain of events. That's how Liberty impregnated by JT. Okay, so number 10 on the list with 11 votes was Alex, because she stayed silent about her role in Painted Feathers and was never found out. Alex was a key contributor to the bullying of Rick and all that. But, unlike Jay, Alex had good reason to. Yeah, she was not close to Terry and Rick and the group. But the simple fact is that Alex, as student council vice president, thought that it was stupid that Raj would let Rick back. And in a deleted scene, she tried to make the point that he's bad towards women and this is not about GPA, which could have been it. But the simple fact is that Alex knows about it, domestic violence firsthand, because she tells Emma after ripping up the check Rick was trying to pay Emma off with. Says that, do you have to live in women's shelters all your life and all that and help your mom cry yourself to sleep? I mean, yeah, you should sympathize with Alex that she's dealt with the domestic violence thing, but basically she was mostly a hypocrite, putting violence to try to ruin violence. And she pictured Rick as the embodiment of every guy who wronged her mom. I mean, if more people knew about that, we'd give her a little more sympathy. But the simple fact is, Alex was the one who put the paint and feathers on Rick, because she knew where to dump it, where no one would see her, because she had the keys thanks to being the student vice president. So Alex does malign her involvement, saying that why did I have to get involved? Well, after everyone got to go home. But anyway, Alex was never found out. Spitter and Jay didn't tell on her. I think Jay because he still had the heart on Alex. And Spitter knew that, Alex was the paint and feathers, but the simple fact was that, why should he get mad at Alex? Alex is never found out. Nobody questions her. And nobody questions why, who got up to that area with everything. They should have figured that a student council president or vice president had the keys, and Alex probably would have been in trouble. But que sera, sera. All right, so number 9 on the list with 14 votes was the whole Degrassi students in general. Now, of course, everyone that's named is not bunched in with the Degrassi students in general. These are basically the background characters and all that, because of how they abused Rick and all that. Now, I know that they deserve a lot of flack for what they did. But the simple fact is that they had the right idea, poor execution. That's kind of like what Emma's problems were in the first few seasons. But the simple fact is that they were upset that Rick was back at the school and that nobody was willing to help. So they basically piled on to the Orange Ribbon campaign Emma did and basically bullied Rick into submission, or tried to. So, yeah, it was hard to believe. And I wonder how much was found out about their actions, their bullying actions, and all that. There was a zero tolerance policy, which seemed to never happen in Degrassi. But I figured the school board put the zero tolerance because of the bullying of Rick, which led to him pulling a gun and shooting somebody. I mean, let's not forget that Rick almost didn't shoot anybody. He brought the gun to school to go after Paige, who, like Marco, did not really have an aftermath, so that's why she's not on the list. But basically, Paige calmed Rick down. Now, the Degrassi students in general, I kind of wanted it to be Rick because, the aftermath. Because, yeah, he's dead, but the aftermath of his death brought bad stuff to Degrassi and possibly caused Degrassi to do a PR thing to get Jay and Silent Bob, go to Degrassi A. I mean, I don't know if it was about the money, but, it was about creating PR and all that. I know Raj tried to create good PR and failed. I'm surprised that Degrassi would do such a thing. And that did break up Caitlin and Joey, unfortunately. But yeah, the Degrassi students, the zero tolerance policy. But the problem was, where was the zero tolerance policy after season 4? because with it in place, Peter would have definitely been expelled for his role in exposing Manny's topless video. Um, so he could have gotten into a lot of trouble in season 13. Yeah, there were many characters that would have been taken out with zero tolerance, but who would be left? Huh. All right, so number 8 and missing out on the top 7 by a vote. Well, with 20 votes out of 84 was Radich, because he lost his job during the aftermath and blamed for many mistakes. Now, when I first started doing Degrassi stuff based on this 3 years ago in 2019, I basically had it out for Radich and knowing that he was such a bad person and all that. Now, my opinion of him has changed that, I feel a little more sympathy for him, but I don't feel complete sympathy for him. The Degrassi Reddit ripped him the shreds, basically saying he was the third worst person to do with the Rick situation now in a poll, putting him behind Rick and Jay. But yeah, I mean, that's the administration. The buck stops here. He was the last line of defense, if you will. Now, Radich, in that deleted scene that stupidly was not shown first run, which should have been done in first run, said that, there were no criminal charges placed on Rick and, he's free to have an education, which I agree with. But the simple fact is it him just trying to duck out of the way of Marco and Alex's questioning? I doubt it, but, it doesn't make him any sympathetic. Now, Alex, when she said about the GPA, it reminded me of the season 4 premiere when Armstrong and Radich talk in the background about supplies, and Radich says, I don't have the money for supplies. I have lots of teachers and all that. You're high on the priority list. Maybe to get a high GPA, and then, they'll get more funding. Who knows? Radich had his hands tied. Radich couldn't kick Rick out. I mean, yeah, he could have suggested to Rick to change schools, but maybe he thought that if he didn't let Rick back, there would have been backlash. Radich did get involved in the Time Stand Still storyline. Well, he got involved in Mercy Street, telling Emma that you shouldn't go after Rick and your stupid crusades. And I'm like, what the hell? I still say he holds the grudge against Emma for, season 2's Fight for Your Right, even though Emma was in the wrong just as much as Radich. But the simple fact is, he didn't want Emma getting in his way. I'm like, oy. And then he comes back in Time Stand Still, part 1, when Rick wants Jimmy off the Quiz Bowl team. Unfortunately, Radich says no, and you better find a better way to make friends. And I can't force you to make friends. Now, of course, you blame Radich for that, but Rick never said the magic words bullying. He just said that he doesn't like him and makes no qualms about it. He could have said he was bullying me and all that. And Radich probably could have told Rick, next time that happens, come see me. But right now, I just need more evidence. Radich, unfortunately, suffered big in Time Stand Still because Snake told Radich off, saying that you letting him go home and all that. How's that going to help things? And Radich says, this is not daycare. Make friends not part of the curriculum, which means he misses the point. He thinks it's all about friendship. Rick wanting Jimmy to be his friend. Are you nuts? That's not about it at all. It's something different. And then, of course, Radich gets chewed out by Snake for not seeing the warning signs and all that. Radich didn't. Radich tries to calm the students down. He lets the school be open on Monday, but for grief counselors and all that stuff. He needs to move on. Okay, fair enough. And then he goes with Degrassi to cancel Dracula, not even postpone it. The simple fact is he could have just said, we got a problem with Rick's death. We need to keep postponing till further notice. And I think it would have been fine. But no, he wanted a musical to show how good Degrassi is. Okay, Degrassi is bad on the 6 o'clock news. But Radich was just doing PR, probably just to promote himself more so than the students. Because, Radich was concerned about his role being found out. So he's not happy with the Radish's song, throws him in money detention, and then I guess a few days later, he's forced to relocate. He wasn't fired, he was reassigned, although he could have been fired. But I think the school board kind of knew that if they fired Radich, then he could have fired back at them and said that, the school board forced me to keep Rick in and all that. So yeah, Radich had that send off and Bark at the Moon, and we never get to see him or even have a mention of him after that. It's kind of stupid, don't you think? And the top person in the bottom ranking video, number 7, was Ellie with 21 votes. If Ellie and Raj had tied, definitely I would have put Raj at number 7. But anyway, Ellie lost Sean to Wasaga, and she was lonely until her mom came back. Ellie was living with Sean on student welfare because Ellie's mom was an alcoholic after Ellie's dad left to go to Afghanistan. And, Ellie's trying to take care of her mom and herself. She gets her cutting habit and gets out of it, thank God. But yeah, Ellie was Sean's squeeze. And Ellie was upset when Sean, in Back in Black, went back to Wasaga to deal with his problems, his PTSD. Like, Ellie understood, but she was all by herself. She had to cover for Sean in the student housing. And then, thankfully, Alex, who surprised me, told Ellie, you have to go back to your mom. And Ellie's mom knew that Ellie would be mad, but she made it her mission to get Ellie back without being forceful. So anyway, that's what happened. And, Ellie went back to her mom. I know she didn't really have the big aftermath after like Radich, but still, that's what the voters went for. All right, so now comes the top 6. This ranking poll got 135 votes, and it was actually closer than I thought. There was no clear-cut. There was a clear-cut winner technically, but there was no clear-cut loser. I mean, the top 2 got more than 20 votes, and then the other 4 got less than 20, but it was close. It was closer than I thought. All right, so here we go. Number 6 on the list with 12 votes in the top poll was Craig. Seeing Jimmy's prone body may have uncovered his bipolar issues. Now, when I did my explanation in the polls to see who the top 3 were in each of the 2 polls, not the ranking poll, but just to see who would be top 6. The simple fact was that, I got chastised for saying, seeing Jimmy's prone body may have led to his bipolar issues. And then people said, you're kind of right, but it says to uncover his issues. Like, he always had the bipolar issues, especially in season 2 when he was introduced. Everyone's like, well, okay, Craig seeing Jimmy's prone body and all that. But there was a reasoning for that. In the subplot of Time Stands Still, which I will get to in my next Degrassism, Craig basically was upset that Joey had to sell the house because of, problems with his business. Craig wants Joey to sell the house and decides to ask Sydney, who was Joey's ex-girlfriend, who was a real estate agent, for help. Joey's not too happy with Craig, and even though Craig is sick, he goes to school on that fateful day because he doesn't want to face Joey, even though Joey yells at, and I better not see Tessa Campanelli here. Although Joey does realize after talking to Sydney and Caitlin that he needed to, calm down and realize Craig was just doing it out of love. Craig, unfortunately, was the one who was the first student to see Jimmy's prone body after Jimmy got shot by Rick. And a lot of people said that may have started his bipolar issues, but no, they were always there. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree. I mean, his dad had that issue too. But the fact of the matter is that Craig saw Jimmy's body first, and he was traumatized. And who can blame him? Fortunately for Craig, Jimmy survives, and Craig even sneaks Jimmy out to a concert. But yeah, Craig started having bipolar problems with Ashley and all that. He was finally diagnosed. He still had issues at the end of season 4 when Ashley is headed for England. He's off his meds and he lives in the Degrassi boiler room. Number 5 with 13 votes was Sean, who kind of had guilt over shooting Rick and went back on the Wasaga. Now, Sean wasn't really involved in the Rick Murray storyline as much as you think. He popped up primarily first in Time Stands Still Part 1 by telling Jay that even though that Rick may have spray painted the cars, you can't go to Radich because then Radich will ask why Rick spray painted the cars, which means that Jay would incriminate himself. So Jay, alongside Spinner and Alex, need to think of an idea to get rid of him once and for all. So Sean, is melancholy and all that. Sean walks with Toby and Emma and bumps into Rick. And Sean tries to calm Rick down. That's what a police officer usually does. He does a good job by saying that, you think things are bad, it could get better. But Rick says, no, I shot somebody already. Sean wrestles Rick for the gun, and a shot is heard. He seems to have a bandage on his arm, and I'm like, did the shot hit him in the shoulder or something? But soon we realize that Sean may have had made burns from the residue from the gunpowder. So he shot Rick dead and all that. Sean is a hero. Everyone thinks he's a giant hero. On the Monday after, in Back in Black, he thinks he's a hero. I mean, Miss Sauve tells Sean, a boy died in a scuffle with you. Don't you feel bad for it? And then, Snake talks with Sean about everything, saying that, Sean may have had some problems. And Sean was greeted by Emma in the media room for saving her life. So Sean decides to go to Wasaga after learning that the news reporter said that she interviewed Sean's parents. And Sean's upset, saying that, his parents made him move to Toronto. He confronts his parents. That's not too happy. And then he bumps into Tyler, the boy he deafened, which led to his move to Toronto. He's on a jet ski. Ellie tries to get him to open up. He doesn't. And then, Sean falls off the jet ski. Tyler saves his life. And, Sean's happy. But then Sean goes back to his parents' trailer and tells them the truth that he was sickened when he learned he had shot Rick. He was trying to save his best friend, or his friend, from being shot. And he felt terrible about it, thinking that he killed somebody. And he's going to probably get in trouble. Watching this first time, I kind of figured that Sean was going to stay in Wasaga to duck the cops, because the cops were probably looking for him. But I mean, if the cops were going to go after him, they probably would have gotten to Sean on the weekend. Especially that. I even at first thought that Sean was probably leaving and was upset that, he may have led Jay to hurt Rick with his painted feathers, because remember, Sean said that don't go to Radich, because Radich will want to know why your cars got vandalized. So yeah, he had PTSD, he had guilt. And we thought we saw the last of Sean. And then season 6, he pops up to ruin Pema, which I think was on purpose. And, he was kind of Emma's lapdog. But then he leaves for the army, leaving Emma high and dry. So I feel bad for Sean. I do. Number 4 on the list, with 17 votes, was Emma. I was kind of upset because Emma would look like she was going to be in 3rd place, which I would have loved to have 3rd place. Because I see the top 2 on the list, and yeah, in the poll, yeah, sure. So anyway, Emma is number 4 with 17 votes. So anyway, Emma's involvement in Time Stand Still in the Rick Murray storyline basically was Mercy Street, when she hears from Spinner and Paige and them about why Rick is such a psycho for what he did to Terry. So she wants to stand up to Rick. Unfortunately, Raj thinks that's a dumb idea. And then Boyd Buoyed, B-U-O-Y-E-D, by Paige's being upset that no one's doing a damn thing about it. She wants to do something, so she decides to help Paige get her clique out. Of course, Emma wants to be in Paige's clique also because she doesn't have friends. Manny and Liberty dump her off because of what Emma wanted to do to prevent Liberty and Chris from dating. Emma didn't want Chris. She just wanted Liberty not to date Chris because, it would be bad on Emma's part. And it's like, since when does she care about who dates her ex-boyfriends? Well, kind of with Sean in season 3. She was upset that Sean was going to the Candy Bandits. But yeah, I mean, and someone said that, she had a glow up in a sense, and that, she thought that, with Manny being attracted to boys and all that, she could make boys attracted to her. But unfortunately that failed. Manny and Liberty leave her high and dry. So she joins the Pages clique, does the Orange Ribbon campaign for money towards domestic violence. It seemed good, but they took the orange ribbons as a sign to beat up Rick, and then Rick decides to give over $500 to Emma. She looks at the check, but Alex rips it up, and Alex rips Emma a new one. Emma then tries to prove her loyalty to Paige's clique by tripping Rick up. Rick wants to go after Emma, but Spinner and Jay think that's a bad idea. They beat up Rick outside the dot. Emma stops it. Emma is chastised. Emma loses everybody except for the quiz team of Toby, Rick, and Heather Sinclair / Jimmy. So Emma, tries to calm Rick down and all that, but Rick makes creepy advances towards her and kisses her, still in his paint and feathers. But Emma drives him off saying, I pitied you, get a clue. And then that led Rick to go home. Emma didn't think that much about things. And then after Jimmy got shot, she somehow managed with her Toby and Sean to bump into Rick. And Rick wanted to kill Emma for spurning his advances and all that. Fortunately, Sean saves Emma's life. Emma is praiseful towards Sean for saving her life. And, I think Emma wanted to be with Sean again because, he saved her life. Who would? Toby, I wish, did. But the fact of the matter is, Emma held things. In the first few episodes after Time Stands Still, she doesn't seem that bad, except for Back in Black. She seems normal. But then in secret, we learned that Emma has been withdrawing things, internalizing things. And spoiler, that will be Cutter's Degrassism Unpopular Opinion number 175. When I get to 175, I haven't got there yet. But yeah, internalizing things. Everyone expects her to bounce back. She always did. And a lot of people said, she couldn't control the situation. She was always known for controlling things, but she couldn't control that issue. So that's why she was, melancholy. She decides to go to Jade to the ravine for sexual favors and all that. She feels better about herself, but Manny is awfully worried about her. Everyone is. Everyone figures Emma's up to something. So, unfortunately, a gonorrhea attack happens. Emma gets chastised, and everyone wants to push themselves away. Emma realizes after yelling at Jay, you gave me a social disease, that she's not well. She tells she tells Spike and Snake about her problems. And she was trying to get control and try to be perfect for everyone. But she didn't have to. Unfortunately, I feel like Emma had the biggest aftermath. Because I will link the Cutter Degrassi Unpopular Opinion down in the description that says that, I think Emma had the biggest aftermath. After all, she lasted more seasons than the two guys who were above her. No, the three guys that were above her, beg pardon. And, she snapped. After season 4, she changed to someone who was boy crazy, kind of friend crazy in a sense too, but she lost her drive for causes. She probably thought in the back of her mind that this Orange Ribbon campaign was a sign of bullying, and Emma probably felt that she contributed to it and felt guilty and said, I can't be that way if the negative effects happen. So yeah, she went through a little bit of a downfall, if I may say so myself. But anyhow, let's get to number 3. With 18 votes was Toby. I kind of ticked off. I know Toby deserves more praise and all that, but still. Anyway, Toby was involved in this whole Rick Murray situation because Toby was dumped off by JT. And Toby and Rick were partners for a project / being on the Wacky Brain team. And they both found out they liked their comic books, they're geeks, and they actually do a kissing bag for dice. Toby somehow easily beats Rick. Well, I figured he would. But Toby felt so bad he paid Darcy, and I think that was her first appearance in Degrassi, $5 to kiss Rick. Unfortunately, Spinner and Jay are not too pleased with it. It was rumored that Jay actually would have been Darcy's brother, but that would have been nice. But still, Toby was being victimized. When Spinner and Jay and Alex wanted to go after Rick for spray painting their cars, they bump into Toby. Toby says, like I tell you where Rick is, and then they bust his lip open. And that actually leads Jimmy to believe that, Rick has been suffering because Rick says so. Toby, unfortunately, is there alongside Sean and Emma bumping into Rick with the gun, all that. Toby was paralyzed with fear. He doesn't know what to do. He's between, okay, he's my friend, but he's not my friend because he shot somebody. He had problems. And the writers left his PTSD up in the air, which kind of sucks. Because, Toby was often underutilized. But still, Toby had problems. He had to deal with Rick's mother because Rick's mom believed everything that Toby and Rick were best friends and all that. So Toby, unfortunately, lost Rick. He did gain JT back. But then, once JT died in season 6, Toby was just underutilized. I don't know. Toby's PTSD should have been explained. So too is Emma. Anyway, number 2 with 26 votes is Spinner. Now, of course, Spinner was one of the main bullies to do with Rick Murray and all that. Spinner, unlike Jay and Alex, actually had more of a connection to the whole Terry/Rick situation. Because, simply put, it was during a road trip with Spinner, Paige, Jimmy, and Hazel that, Terry and Rick got involved. And then Rick puts Terry in a coma. Spinner is there to see Rick with blood on his hands and Terry falling down and wants to go after Rick, but then he realizes he needs to help Terry out because if Terry died under his care, then that would be trouble. So, of course, Spinner always had the hatred. He almost manages to get Rick and put him in his place, but Rick's mom interrupts it. However, Spinner, was there. He wanted justice for Terry, and that's understandable, but he was basically a big bully. He put Rick into the dumpster alongside Jimmy, and he was upset. He and Jay purposely led Rick along, saying that everything's cool when the Pain and Feathers were coming, and then Spinner was coerced into blaming Jimmy for everything happening to Rick. Because Jay pointed out Rick's paint and feathers in the sink and his feet in the bathroom. It also didn't help that Spinner bragged about the prank to Jimmy, and Jimmy kind of knew about it. And then Spinner says Raditch knows, and Jay tries to take the heat off Spinner. Spinner feels guilty about learning about Rick shooting Jimmy, so he tries to go to the authorities, but Jay basically tells him not to. Spinner's guilt racked into not seeing Jimmy at the hospital, and then finally, in Eye of the Tiger, he spills his guts. He gets chastised by the school, and basically tells Hatzilakos, who became principal, about his role in the situation. Hatzilakos unfortunately blames him for, Rick being dead. Putting Jimmy in the wheelchair, that's fair, but she blames him for Rick's death? Are you nuts? Spinner is expelled. He wants to burn the school down because they will refuse to help him with his studies. But Jay prevents that from happening. Spinner in season 5 comes back, is put on a very short leash by Hatzilakos, but he vows to win his friends back and bides his time. He goes to the friendship club. He meets Darcy. He wants to get his life back in pieces. He breaks off with Jay, which is a big part of things. And then one by one, his friends finally decide to forgive and forget. And, Spinner at least was willing to change his tone. And Spinner talked to Jimmy at the end of season 5, and they became friends again. Spinner saved his butt with one of the best, if not the best, redemption arc in Degrassi history. And number 1, with the poll with 49, which was, I guess, kind of inevitable, was Jimmy. Guy's in a freaking wheelchair because of his actions. Jimmy was a tormentor of Rick. We know that. He was the one who helped Spinner put Rick into the dumpster in Time Stands Still Part 1. Then all of a sudden, you got yourself the fact that Jimmy was put on the Wacky Brain team because of Heather's mono. Rick and Jimmy don't really get along, but Jimmy is coerced into realizing Rick is being bullied and that now that Toby's getting hurt, that they're coming after Rick by Toby. Jimmy then decides to switch sides, which kind of irks Spinner, Jay, and Alex. Fair enough. But the simple fact was that, he was learning from things. He was helping Rick get better. And, Jimmy and Rick were close. Jimmy, of course, was upset when Spinner bragged about the prank. They fight. And then in the deleted scene, they actually were walking together. Weren't they supposed to go to the principal's office right off the bat? But anyway, yeah, Jimmy was told by Rick, you lied to me and all that. Jimmy says, is that gun real? And then, he tries to reason with Rick, and then he runs, and Rick shoots him. Now, it's fair. Remember, Rick didn't intentionally go after Jimmy with the gun. Rick turned his head while shooting Jimmy. He could have missed completely. But yeah, Jimmy got hit in the spine, and we thought he was dead, but no, he's just in a wheelchair. Thank God that he's alive. He's paralyzed, but still there. Jimmy tries to find himself because he's not the athlete anymore. He likes to be an artist, but his father doesn't like that. But Jimmy gets mad at his father for having an affair with somebody, and Jimmy is trying to struggle and all that. Now, of course, I don't think anyone realized that Jimmy, aka Aubrey Graham, would have been the rap mega god Drake. So the simple fact is that they didn't know what to do with Jimmy, but Jimmy, aka Aubrey, knew what he wanted to do. He wanted to get into rapping, and that's big. This was a big moment for Drake to get out of Degrassi and go into rap music and making Canadians proud of him, like me actually. But yeah, the aftermath was huge. I know personally, I say Emma, but you voted for Jimmy. I can't blame you for that. You went spinner above Emma. Can't blame you. Toby, that's a matter of opinion, but anyway, thanks for watching this video on this very somber anniversary of the Degrassi's first major It Goes There episode, Time Stands Still Part 2. I'm Jeff Diamond. Thanks for watching.